In this video, we're reviewing Hokum and confronting our demons with an apples and cream whiskey cocktail called the Irish Honeymoon. Today, on the Martini Shot. This will be a shaken cocktail, so go ahead and grab yourself a cocktail shaker. First things first, we're going to be starting with some fresh lemon juice, only at 1/4 ounce, followed by a honey syrup at 1/2 ounce, and 1 ounce of apple juice. For alcoholic ingredients, first we're going to be adding some Benedictine, a herbal liqueur. We're only going to be adding about 1/4 ounce. And for our main spirit, 2 ounces of Irish whiskey. And then for our final ingredient, we are going to be using 1/2 and 1/2 at about 1/2 ounce. The reason I'm putting it in last is because alcohol can make cream and stuff like that curdle, so the later you add it into the cocktail, the less curdling you should see. Might not make a huge difference, but I figured I'd try it anyway. All right, let's throw some ice in our shaker and shake to chill. Once you're done, go ahead and strain your cocktail into a chilled coupe glass. And for a garnish, I decided to make a heart out of 2 apple chips. Since a big red heart is on the key to the honeymoon suite in the movie, I figured it was pretty appropriate. And there you go, now you have the Irish Honeymoon. So this cocktail has a few inspirations. Obviously, the Irish whiskey comes from the fact that the film is set in Ireland, but there's also a particular concoction of goat's milk and magic mushrooms that is kind of a catalyst for some of the events in the film. So I tried to replicate that with a little bit of 1/2 and 1/2 and that Benedictine herbal liqueur, which is going to bring in a nice mix of both a creaminess and a botanical nature. I think everything pairs really well alongside each other. The honey and the cream makes it nice and sweet. It's not too much cream where it feels overly heavy. And then you also get the nice crispness from the apple juice as well. It's very light and refreshing, but it also has that little tinge of dessertiness to it. And that ever so slight herbiness that comes from the Benedictine, I think works very, very well. It's very welcome among the flavors of the apple and the honey. So now that we have our drink, let's get right into the review of Hokum. Hokum is the latest horror film from director Damian McCarthy, who just a few years ago gave us the supernatural horror film Oddity, and before that, the film Caveat. Oddity is what really put McCarthy on the map for me. I thought, here's a guy who understands how to take what we've seen before and do something unique with it. Oddity was one of my favorite horror films of 2024, and when the chance to see McCarthy's newest film early fell into my lap, I couldn't help but react like, because I was just so excited. And if you're looking for something that just has that old school horror feel with a contemporary approach, Hokum is the movie for you. A lot of what I appreciated about McCarthy's previous film returns here in spades, giving us a tense, creative haunted house flick that plays with your mind and gets under your skin. While light on the disturbing imagery, the film makes up for it with expertly paced sequences of looming dread that actually pay off with some of the more effective jump scares I've seen in a minute. If I'm honest, I enjoyed a lot more of the out there creativity of Oddity, but this is still finely distilled Irish folk horror in its purest form. I knew there was something strange going on with a country that only drinks Guinness. Depressed American author Owen Bauman decides to make the long overdue trip to the Irish hotel his parents honeymooned at in order to spread their ashes. But like most old hotels, some things just don't feel right. And after some odd occurrences, a disappearance, and the theory of a witch living in the locked away honeymoon suite, Owen finds himself trapped in a nightmare as he must try to survive the hotel's horrors while also battling the demons he brought along with him. Man, is Adam Scott a dick in this? For me, he's always just gonna be goofy, lovable Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec for me, but projects like Severance and this are all the proof you need to believe that there's more range to him than you may think. Scott's Owen Bauman is a rather difficult character to make work because he comes with both a lot of baggage and a bad attitude that he takes out on the kind employees of the hotel. You do learn more about why he's like this later in the film, but the movie really tests how much sympathy you can give a main character like this. There's honestly this interesting balance where you want to see Owen get the crap scared out of him, but you also want to see him make it out okay as well. It's a prickly character that can be tough to execute, but I think both McCarthy and Scott do an excellent job with it for the most part. We'll get into why the horror is so great in a moment, but I just want to give props to how funny the film can be too. After a very somber and dark film like Oddity, it was nice to see a little bit of comedy injected into McCarthy's work. A lot of it comes from the phenomenal supporting cast, from the sheepish bellhop played by Will O'Connell to the moonshine and mushroom-consuming drifter played by David Wilmot. The comedy adds a nice bit of reprieve from the more dark and depressing moments of the film, which there are quite a few of. But the impact of those moments isn't undercut by the little bits of humor, so these moments are okay in my book. But the horror of the film is pure haunted house core. There's a lot of bumping around in the night to be seen and heard, and the film is smart enough not to overplay its hand too early on. Ohm is plagued by visions of his dead mother, distant wailings, and dark memories that begin to manifest themselves in frightening ways. I don't know what's going on with that rabbit, but you can keep that thing away from me. Like I said earlier, every scare is paced and presented super well. The film really knows how to get you hanging onto every creak and every movement going on in the background, and more often than not, you get some satisfying payoff in the form of actually good jump scares. Although sometimes it does feel like the film is trying to throw in more of them to fill some kind of imaginary quota, they aren't egregiously forced in like many modern horror movies. Like Oddity, Hokum makes great use of its primary setting, with the sections of the hotel being meticulously designed to fit the narrative without going too far beyond the realm of believability. Once Ohm makes it to the honeymoon suite is where you really start to see this at play. A lot of thought was put into the room layout and the little pieces that later shape how the story progresses. I love single location films that put a lot of thought into their rooms, and this film is a great example of that. I do have some minor hang-ups with this, despite enjoying pretty much all of it. There's an underlying theme of trauma, grief, and atoning for your sins that I think doesn't entirely coincide with the plot all that well. It does add some depth to Ohm for sure, but the way it's integrated into the story, both through Ohm's novel and his visions of his mother, kind of feels a little forced to me, but not enough where it felt like the film was reaching for something it couldn't obtain. Additionally, for how great the tension and looming dread is in the film, I did find the big realization to what was going on to be a tad underwhelming. It's a lot more open-ended than I was expecting, but it still felt like more could have been given. I think Oddity did a much more interesting job at building towards big reveals in a unique way, but this felt a lot more straightforward. That being said, Hokum takes a pretty simplistic idea and set up and elevates it thanks to a lot of different elements working in harmony. Ample attention is put on making every character feel genuine and realized, while the scares are thrown at you smartly and intentionally, feeling more than earned rather than just an expectation. This is a lot of fun with some solid crowd-pleasing moments, but it has enough of an edge to still remain dark and ominous. Weirdly, this kind of made me want to go back to Ireland. I don't know, the vibes of being haunted and sent to hell in Ireland just sound way more appealing than doing it in the States. For my rating, I'm giving this film 3.5 tape recorders out of 5. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Martini Shot. If you saw Hokum, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. And if you like what you saw here and would like to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me across all social media channels. Those links are down in the description below. And if you enjoy movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails, be sure to check out my website, martinishot.blog. Until next time, thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Live deliciously, but please remember to drink responsibly.